Here with Phil Luck of CSIS, our top trade expert, our top economist. On Monday at noon, we're talking Monday, March 31st, things are moving really fast in the world of trade. Phil, the president has set a deadline of Wednesday for sweeping tariffs. He's looking at all countries, he says. Meanwhile, Americans are nervous because the economy, the stock market is falling precipitously. And the words we keep hearing are uncertainty and volatility. What does all this mean? And, what do you think is happening here?
Yeah, I mean, so it's exactly right that the uncertainty is what we should really be focusing on, right? This policy will be rolled out. We don't really know what it's going to look like yet. And by all accounts, most of those, even the administration, don't exactly know what this is going to be. But there's going to be some pretty sizable tariffs. They're going to be on particular sectors. We've already announced the auto sector, whereas we may have also have sort of like, country level tariffs that are going to be quite a bit higher. And part of this is they're looking to raise revenue, right? And if you want to raise revenue off of trade, you really do need quite high tariff levels. So we're in the running for pretty high tariffs. The other thing I would note here is whether the tariffs are really high or medium or low, just the uncertainty itself is creating a lot of economic harm. In the economy, uncertainty is bad, right? When people have uncertainty, they reduce consumption. When firms face uncertainty, they delay investments. This is deleterious to the overall economy, regardless of what the tax rates end up being.
What about prices? People are really worried about prices, and some people are saying, well, Americans aren't going to be willing to pay higher prices because of these tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, pretty much they're going to have to, right? I mean, the tariffs are going to come into place. We are going to have a 25% tariff on imported vehicles. Even cars coming in from Mexico and Canada, the part of the content of those vehicles that's not U.S. content, which is, some upwards of 2/3 of the vehicle, will have a 25% tariff on it. I mean,
that's each one of our American car companies have the big three. They all have some exposure at that.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Right. So even American cars, quote unquote, will be basically have a tariff on them of a pretty high rate. So this will increase cost of cars by tens of thousands of dollars.
Phil, it sounds like we're in for a bit of a ride here. What do you think the overarching strategy is? Because there has to be some end game here that the administration has that thinks, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is there's multiple strategies, all of which are hard to execute by themselves. They're almost impossible to execute together, right? So they're trying to do industrial strategy, meaning give firms incentives to reshore production. To do that, you really need to provide firms with a lot of certainty. You basically have to say, if you're going to make an investment that's going to have to be paid out over the next 30 years, you need to have some certainty about what the economic conditions they're going to be facing are going to be over that whole time period. They're not really getting that now because the tariff rates are high or low or up or down depending on the minute or who you're hearing from. The other thing they're trying to do, which is very clear, is they're trying to use tariffs more clearly as a foreign policy, security, coercive strategy, meaning if anybody wants to buy Venezuelan oil, or today or yesterday it was also Russian oil, you're going to get tariffed. If Canada and Mexico are not going to do enough to stop fentanyl, they're going to get tariffed, right? So that is also a hard thing to achieve, but it's even harder if you're trying to do it alongside that industrial policy because the ways those two tools work is very different. If you give industry the certainty of, hey, tariffs are going to be on for the long haul, adjust your supply chains, you're not giving your partners the right incentive to adjust their behavior because your policy is not going to adjust to their behavior if it's fixed in place. So my concern is they're going to try to do two things. They're going to try to convince partners to do things, and they're going to try to convince industry to do things, and they're going to fail at both.